G'day YouTube viewer, g'day bikers. Well, it's been a very exciting week, with Kawasaki announcing a new KX327 in a 5-speed motocross and 6-speed enduro bike. I'll let all the dirt bike channels tell you more about that, but what I would be really excited about is if Kawasaki deciding down the track to release a version that can be registered with headlights and indicators, not to ride out on sealed roads, but allow you to legally ride more places in the bush. But anyway, that's not the purpose of this video. As I've mentioned before, I love reading the comments and I love the interaction this channel provides. It lets me tap into the wonderful biker community, not just in Australia, but from all over the world. And I had more comments than usual to my last video about the motorcycle market and how Australia was stacking up. Now, a number of those comments were from people who wanted to know what road I was riding on. It was a nice twisty mountainous road, and I can tell you that was Mossvale Road at Kembawarra Mountain. On each side of Kangaroo Valley there are some wonderful twisty roads, and this was just one of those. So I thought in this video I'd show it in the opposite direction, this time heading north towards Kangaroo Valley on the same bike, the Honda GB350. Now, it's a very different experience on this retro looking roadster to one of my larger bikes, i.e. the Kawasaki Z900RS, where the challenge is keeping it at the speed limit, especially for a YouTube video, because it doesn't like going that slow on a road like this. With the GB350 on the other hand, you can actually work the accelerator and gears more and stay within the legal limit, because Mossvale Road is a 60 km/h limit until you get closer to Kangaroo Valley, where it speeds up to 80 and then 50 once you get into the village. So I hope you enjoy this video from the other direction. It is taken with a different camera that is not so good visually because you get sun flare in the screen, but it'll still give you an idea of what the road is like. The other thing I want to talk back throws back to the motorcycle market itself, and one comment I had talking about how it has changed in another way. And it reminded me of how riding was very different when I was in my teens and early 20s to what it is now. So as someone who has ridden for more than 50 years, I've seen a lot of changes. Now, in that last video I talked about how the market in Australia is still quite strong comparatively, but I didn't talk about how the market has changed in another way. And thanks to the person who made that comment, the big difference now, I think, is that more people ride for recreation and leisure and pleasure than use motorcycles for commuting. Now, I know some young people now who still ride their bikes like I did as a teenager, where it's their only means of transport and they commute on it. But I think there is a lot less commuting now than there was 4 or 5 decades ago. I know when I was a teen, most of my friends were riding bikes as their sole means of transport. They didn't yet have a car when they were 17, 18 and 19, and they used their motorbikes for everything. Now, that did include riding on trails and dirt on weekends for pleasure, but during the week they used their bikes for commuting to work, running errands, and as their main form of transport, which is very similar to what I did in those days. If I did need to carry something that wouldn't fit on the bike, I would borrow my father's ute, but apart from that, the bike was used for everything in all weather. But I have to agree with the comment to my last video from the viewer who said motorcycles are more a luxury item now, something you buy if you can afford it for leisure and pleasure, and thrills and adventure. They tend to be used more for weekends and days off, and in many cases trailered somewhere to where they can explore and enjoy the thrill of riding on 2 wheels. I know, as the owner of multiple bikes, none of mine are insured for commuting, because I have no intention of doing that on them. I'm fortunate enough to be able to have different bikes for different purposes, but they are all for recreation, and they all promote wonderful mental health and mindfulness. Now, I know there are many people who still commute on their motorbikes, but I don't think it is as much as it was 4 or 5 decades ago. I would love to hear what you think in the comments. course, there are places in the world where that is very different. I know I didn't talk about India in the last video. That's such a different market. I didn't include it with the other ones. And of course, in many countries in Europe, around the Mediterranean, and most parts of Asia, small capacity bikes and scooters are the way of living. They're used for everything, especially commuting. And that is wonderful. I know there are a lot of Australians who love holidaying in places like Bali and Vietnam and many other parts of Asia, Thailand, Malaysia, South Korea, where life revolves around small capacity machines. It helps with congestion, it helps with pollution, and really is a way of living. But I think in countries like Australia, motorcycling has become much more a recreational thing. Of course, you have to have some disposable income to do it that way, and it is getting harder. But to me, that is how the motorcycle market has changed considerably in the last half century. Would love to hear what you think. Am I right? Am I wrong? I don't mind being told I'm wrong. In fact, I encourage people to correct me on this channel because that helps broaden my picture and view of what is happening around the world with my favourite pastime, my preferred recreation. As I get older, motorcycle is more of what I live for and is what is going to keep me happy and busy in retirement. So please, I encourage you, please feel free to leave your thoughts and comments down below. And of course, if you like this video, would love it if you gave it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so before. That really helps a small channel like this. I hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are in the world, and until next time, happy motorcycling.